right, welcome everyone. So this is our first meeting of Lower the Voting Age, which will be about New York City Community Boards, and it was by the Advocacy Circle of Youth Power Coalition. So welcome everyone. So I'll start to introduce what Youth Power Coalition is. We are a youth-led organization advocating to bring youth power into spaces that affect youth. And so these are some of our main values in YPC, which we call our 7 C's of collective impact. So our first one is community-led, which we strive to create change by us. And more specifically, since we're the advocacy circle, we try to make change through advocacy. We also are equity centered, which means that we unrelent in our pursuit of the world in which social, economic, and political outcomes are not based upon a person's background or identity. So we basically just want to be inclusive for everyone, and we don't judge. So yeah. We're also comprehensive, so we recognize the systems and institutions and everything that is in place in our societies, and that makes us make decisions that impact us, but also others. We're also courageous, and we're not afraid to take risks anytime. We're also well capitalized, so we invest generously in community-led change. We're also co-creative, so we should also, as I said, we strive for inclusivity of all backgrounds, races, and genders. And last but not least, we are caring. So we try to treat others with kindness and empathy. And we value not just metrics and numbers, but dignity, respect, and belonging. So yes, why are we doing this event? So we as youth should have the power to speak on topics that involve us. So we wanted to create this event to give more light and shed light on what community boards are. So community boards are a great way for youth to express themselves and vote and speak on important issues that your district tackles. And it can involve yourself as a young person to make important decisions. And as Youth Power Coalition says, we want us as youth to put our power into spaces like these. So community boards are a great example on ways we could do that. Yes, so this is some sort of agenda that we will do. So it'll be an introduction, which I've done as of right now. Then we'll go to breakout rooms, and then we'll introduce what community boards are, and then a speaker panel, and our new website, and last, our checkout and survey. So we will have discussion in breakout rooms for about 5 minutes. These are some of the questions that you can ask one another, sort of just your name, pronouns, organizations, and some sort of questions like these. So what is youth power? How do you feel as young people that people under 18 cannot vote? And what are you hoping to gain from this event? So we're doing this just to build community within each other, and the community boards, and the breakout rooms will start really soon. All right, so since everyone's back, would anyone want to share a sort of reflection or anything about these questions that you would want to share out as a whole group?
I'll share on behalf of my group. So I'll answer the third question, but I think it was all common that we felt angry that our youth was unable to vote. If you're under 18, you're unable to vote. Because we as like a community agreed that we are youth generation are the future. So having this campaign is essential to like educating others and spreading awareness that we should have the power to vote. So yeah.
I believe Shane wants to share as well.
Hi, everyone. Shane Collins, he, him, his pronouns. I'm here representing Staying Power in Ypsilanti, Michigan. My group said along the lines of, even from the ages of 15, 16, 17, a lot of youth are expected to handle the same responsibilities as adults in our society. So it would seem fair that they also get the choice to choose who represents them and what impacts them financially, and what impacts their housing situation, their schooling, etc.
Anyone else would like to share? Okay, so we could go to the next slide now.
All right, so now I think the big question of, what even are community boards rises? I know at first I wasn't completely sure what they were either, but community boards are basically a group of 50 representatives that assess the needs of the community members. It's a place where people get together to voice their needs and wants and ensure that the community's voice is a factor in the decision-making process. And according to the New York City Government Community Board website, quote, they, quote, advise elected officials and government agencies on matters affecting the social welfare of the district, end quote. So it's a place where, you get a sense of, what's going on in the community and how the local government is serving you. And it's a place to just learn about what action is being taken to solve anything that rises as an issue within your neighborhood, city, wherever. And I know if this brief intro to what it is interested you and you have, you maybe might want to join, it's very simple. And if we can just go to the next slide. The process for joining is only 3 steps. So the first most simple one is, just showing up. If you need to familiarize yourself with it, if you don't show up and you don't know what goes on, you'll be completely lost. And so showing up to your community boards meetings and just getting a sense of, how the process works, what they talk about, who talks, just seeing just scoping out the environment. That's most important. And you can do that by visiting the link that is posted right there. You just type in your city, your borough, and you find your community board like that. Then once you've gotten a sense of what it's like and you want to officially join, you must first be appointed by either a borough president or a council member. Now, this is where the step 1 comes into hand, because if, you're showing up to those meetings, you're making a name for yourself, they will definitely, point you, recommend you. So then third, once you're appointed, you fill out a formal application, once again with the same link, or the application will be sent directly to you by your local council member or board. Now, if you feel like you're not up for being an official community board member, you can always become a public member of your community board. You basically join a subcommittee and you vote on certain issues and decisions that are made. It's not as an intense role as a community board member. And if you feel like, this wasn't enough explanation for you and you're still a bit lost and you would love to get more insight on the roles and what goes on, you can visit this link over here, and it just explains what community boards are in a little bit more depth. And this is the official community board website, so they will definitely do more justice than I can ever do. So, yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So now moving on to the speaker panel. As this panel moves along, feel free to add questions in the chat box. And if possible, well, most likely possible, if you still have questions towards the end, feel free to use the raise your hand feature. And starting with our speakers, Selena Romero, Brandon Klugman, and Aneth Naranjo, and Cristian Romero. They will each give a brief intro, just 1 to 2 sentences about themselves, pronouns, and their organization, and then we'll lead into our discussion. So Selena, would you mind going first?
Hi everyone, my name is Selena Romero. I go by she, her pronouns, and I am part of Community Board 2. I started my term last year during quarantine in June, I believe, and the term lasts for 2 years, so I have until next year where I can decide whether or not I can join again. So Community Board 2 has been really, really great. I feel like I have a voice, and a lot of the people were really welcoming when I first joined. They reached out to me and, explained the structure of what Community Board 2 was about, and um, joining the meetings and listening on what we can do for our community, which is Sunnyside and Woodside, has really been fun.
Thank you for that. And since Cristian is also part of the community boards, I think it would be appropriate for Cristian to go afterwards. So if you're ready.
Hey, yes, I'm ready. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Cristian Romero. I'm a member of Community Board 4. I joined Community Board 4 as an intern when I was 17 years old, a senior in high school. That was almost 8 years ago. But Community Board 4 has been a springboard for me in my career. I always was fond of politics, government, community service. So Community Board 4 gave me sort of the networking abilities and the community event outreach abilities to launch myself in my career after I graduated from college. So I'm currently working for Governor Kathy Hochul, and I'm still a member of the Community Board. I still join our monthly meetings, and I'm still there and active. So I'm happy to always spread good things and say good things about community boards and encourage as many young people as I can to join, because it truly helps you, not just if you're interested in government policy or politics, but if you're interested in anything, because they cover many different topics. Many city agencies are invited to speak, and it helps you get to see what you're interested in, what you want to do, where you want to be more helpful, and all of that is fantastic. So yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
And now we have Brandon from Vote 16 USA. If you're ready, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Brandon. Pronouns are he and him. I work at Generation Citizen, which is a nonprofit dedicated to youth civic engagement. And one of the things that we do is the Vote 16 USA initiative, which I help to lead. And it's sort of like a national hub for information about lowering the voting age to 16 and connections to bring people together who are working on that. And so I am lucky to be able to do that work. And one of the things that I get to do is to help with this youth advisory board that's made up of young people from different cities and states who are advocating for that change, including some of the tremendous leaders who have organized this event today. And I'm just excited to get to talk with all of you about this exciting topic.
Thank you. And Aneth, would you feel free to share from the Peer Defense Project?
Thank you, Jada. Hey, y'all. My name is Aneth. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the Executive Director of People Operations from the Peer Defense Project. And we're a legal project that builds legal tools and resources for youth to build power in school, the court, and government. So in those three levels. And one of the things we definitely have talked about is youth governance and the voting power that young people can have. So I'm excited to be here.
Okay, thank you for all of your introductions. And for the questions to start our discussion, I will be alternating between the community board questions and our organization questions. So starting off for the community boards, I know we discussed how to get involved in community boards, but if either one of our speakers from the community boards would like to elaborate on how youth can be more involved and possibly provide their own introduction into it and how they found out about that, that might provide more insight. So feel free to share.
Well, I started my term by filling out the application when they were, renewing, when they were trying to get their 50 members into the community board. So, and I just applied because I felt like I really wanted to become more involved in my community. During quarantine, I was really, I was part of a mutual aid system. And from there, I was like, okay, I really like helping out my community. Maybe I should try out something bigger, which is the community board. And I had an interview. I passed that, and then I was able to, get in and discuss everything that involves itself with the community. But in the application, you can also choose what you want to have a say in the community. You can join the other meetings, but you won't, like other committee meetings, but you won't be able to vote, I think. So the committee that I chose to choose was the education and health services. So yeah, that's been great. And I think that if you want to become involved with your community board, definitely show up to the meetings because it's public, or go on the website of the community board and see what they're tackling. Really become aware of what they're doing, so that when you want to join, that or get a feel of what is being discussed. So.
Okay, thank you. That sounds great. And we'll direct our next question for our organizers. So if either one of our organizers, or both, that's also welcome, would like to elaborate on some of the campaigns or projects that they've been working on respectively, please feel free to share. Of course, in regard to lowering the voting age or community boards.
I can go quickly just to kick it off. So with Vote 16 USA, by the way, here's like the logo if you haven't seen it. If we were like in person, I'd give everybody stickers. But if you really want some, you can email me and I'll mail them to you. Anyway, some big campaigns with Vote 16 USA. The way I talk about our work is that we have 3 pillars or 3 buckets or focus areas. Number 1 is providing information and resources so that anybody who wants to advocate for this issue has the info they need to go ahead and do that. Number 2 is promoting the issue on a national level to help bring it a little more into the mainstream conversation. And then number 3, most exciting, is actually supporting young people who are advocating to make this change on the local level. And so we're doing exciting things in all those places. On the first side, for the information, one of the big things that we're working on right now is a new version of like a big report called Young Voices at the Ballot Box. That is I like to think it's sort of the one-stop shop for all the information that someone needs to learn about the research behind lowering the voting age. And that'll come out soon. And then really to achieve our goal number 2, which is bringing this into the mainstream conversation, one of the things that we're trying to do is just to get larger, more prominent kind of organizations and individuals nationally to endorse Vote 16, which will help get the idea in front of more people and make it a little more mainstream. And then number 3, which is supporting youth-led campaigns, is most exciting and most concrete. It's been interesting to see over the past few years where the momentum has picked up. There's been obviously tremendous work being done in New York with a bill in the state assembly and the state Senate called the Young Voter Act, which is trying to lower the voting age in New York, right, to build on this progress, right, that obviously 16 and 17-year-olds are allowed to serve on community boards. I think that change was made in 2014, I think. And so now there's young people and allies who are advocating in the state level to bring this change to real elections. And that's because the state laws don't allow cities to make this change, right? The state law doesn't allow this change to happen just on the city council level, for example. There are some other states where city councils do have the power to lower the voting age to 16 just for their city elections. And that's where I think we'll continue to see some exciting progress. One of those states is in Maryland, where there already have been 5 cities to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to actually vote for their mayor and for their city council members. And there might be some more cities there that make that change soon. And then there are kind of young people in other states too who are, working on this. And I won't list them all, but excited to hopefully get some wins coming up in early 2022 and have more cities get this on the books.
I can also share really quickly what Peer Defense has been doing. Youth governance is one of our projects, and during our summer internship, we actually worked, Thursday, who was one of our interns, worked on a power map for lowering the voting age to 16 on the city level, state level, and federal level. So our campaign has largely been focused on like learning what legislation has looked like on that side, and like how can we build legal tools for youth organizers to use when they like go into spaces to talk to like legislators or like whoever they may need to talk to, like that they're able to have those tools. And that's what we've been focusing on right now. I'll pass it back to Jada.
Thank you both for that. That was very insightful. So now I'll go back to a community board question. And I know you both described the experience of being on community boards as positively. Just feel free to elaborate more on the experience that you've had working thus far, some of the responsibilities that you may have, and how some of the events take place, I think will be very insightful. So either one of you can feel free to participate, and whoever goes first.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to that, Jada. So when I joined on, I joined on as a regular board member, but I already had some internship experience. So it was good to see the back end stuff, the stuff that happens at the office, you know, the paperwork and all the applications that come in, and then actually put through an application and join as a board member. And as Selena mentioned, you know, there's a lot of committees you can join. And depending on the committee that you join, is sort of the more events that you'll be seeing. So I joined the youth committee, ironically, and I was on the youth committee, and we had a lot of youth related events for children who needed, you know, assistance, tutoring, after school tutoring, or other high school kids like about my age, a little younger than me at the time, who wanted to experience, you know, government internships, stuff like that, volunteer, park cleanups. All of that was part of the experience. And then a year or so later, I got the chance to actually be youth chair, so the committee chair of the youth committee, and we were able to do a youth fair, which was really cool. We brought a lot of organizations from Queens together as sort of a one-stop shop for all the resources available to youth and their families. So the events really depend on, you know, what committee you join, but you're free to join.
Cristian, I believe
But
I'm sorry, Cristian, but I believe your audio cut out for a second. Would you mind just backtracking?
Sorry, I was saying that you can join any committee and any event, regardless of the committee you're in. And if you join the committee, you know, you get to experience a lot of different events related to the committee that you join. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. That was very great. Okay, moving on to another organizer-based centered question. So of course, focusing on advocacy, what are some ways that you found that youth have been introduced to advocacy, and what are some ways that they've learned more about their voting rights in your own experience? Just to make the question a bit more clear, which ways are most helpful, would you say?
To learn about like your voting rights.
Yes, and just advocacy in general.
And advocacy. I think personally in my experience, it has been in a way where like I can talk in community, and like I can also like talk about my own experiences. A lot of the times like the system hasn't made sense for me, like and I need to talk about it like in the way that like I guess it's affected like my particular experiences. And so being able to like have that space where I can say like, oh, this has happened to me, and like being able to like relate to other people and then understand it in like a bigger structure type of way, or like how it fits into the system, is really helpful.
I think, and I definitely agree with that. And to build on it, I think I've seen young people learn about voting rights and get interested in that and similar things more than anything from each other. I think with any, I believe that sort of in any group of people, you know, that's like not a tiny group, there's at least one person there who cares about either voting or public policy or making their community a better place, and has some ideas on how to do it. And I've seen the most powerful thing is when those people, not necessarily like organizational leaders or organizers or whatever, but just regular people and young people and peers and friends, help each other to learn about this kind of stuff. And I think it comes up a lot of times when people just talk about the issues and challenges in their day-to-day lives, or the opportunities and things they wish were better in their day-to-day lives, whether it's talking about like why the bus is slow or why college is expensive and all those kind of things. Right, we have these conversations every day. And then there are people who kind of take it upon themselves to sort of be leaders and help their peers realize that when we're talking about those things, like, hey, there is a connection between those challenges or those room for improvement areas, and a connection between those things and the people we vote for, who are, you know, setting the policies, or the government structures that are set up a certain way, right? The institutions that are set up a certain way. And then, you know, when we mention those connections, we can get people interested in voting or in exercising civic power, youth power in a way that's not voting. But I guess just to answer your question, you know, the most exciting and most prevalent thing I've seen is people getting interested in voting or youth power from just conversations about the challenges or opportunities they see every day.
That was a great answer from the both of you. And I think that really speaks to a lot of young people that often feel like there are barriers to advocacy and gaining rights. And just from what I've gotten from both of your responses, it's just talking about it and initiating action is one of the best things to get involved, which is also why we have events like this. So thank you both for that question, for those answers. And another community board question we can move on to is, where might you think community boards need to improve? This may be a question for either one. If any, and if not, then where do you think their strengths lie in community boards?
I think just personally, after being in the community board for a few years, I think that this meeting today is a good example of where we need to improve, right? Community boards need to do more outreach to youth. We need to do more outreach to folks within our community, high school students. You know, back when I was on the youth committee, a big thing that I wanted to do is presentations at high schools, because I can't speak for the entire state, much less anything beyond New York City, but there's not really any civics class available in high school, at least not any that I took when I was in high school. So there's not really, you know, anything that will teach younger people how to get more involved. And I think community boards could be a good nonpartisan, community-based group to do so and introduce folks to that idea. So I think more engagement with youth and more engagement in general, because most of the members when I joined were a lot older than I was, and of course there's nothing wrong with that, but we definitely want to get, you know, some of the younger crowd there to have their opinions heard as well.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Christian said, and would like to add on what like Brandon said. I do think that youth help other youth become more involved with stuff. I knew about the community board application and let my friends know about it, and that's how word got around. But also through social media, a lot of my friends use Discord, which is a social media app, and I'm part of a lot of you could say group chats where we send each other opportunities that we can become involved in. So definitely, oh, and adding on to Christian, just like the outreach for community boards is not prioritized. And at least in my community board, we're not really allowed to talk to the other the other community members outside from meetings because of I don't know what the policy is, but like they just don't want us to talk about anything that we're talking about in the community board meetings sometimes and reach out to each other outside. So I think that's really like a limiting factor. I also feel like the website itself, like I know it's being updated every now and then, but the format might be difficult for some people to navigate through. But other than that, I feel like the community board is pretty strong because everyone gets to know each other through the meetings sometimes, like in the beginning where we just reintroduce ourselves to each other and like give updates of what's happening.
And thank you for that. And I know we're coming in on time, so just to stay on track, I will address this question to all four of our speakers. So what are some recommendations for what youth can do next? If like any next steps or just motivational words to share for our youth, that would be very, very much appreciated. So anyone can go first.
Definitely become involved. Like I thought I was going to sort of regret joining because, as Christian said, like everyone was older than me, so I didn't think I was going to like fit in, or you could say respected. So just joining and realizing that that wasn't the case, and that they're really open to hearing ideas from the younger members, it's really helpful, and it kind of inspires me to like do more or like become more involved with my community board. I don't think you'll regret it. I think knowing in what's going on in your community and like what is this piece of land going to be used for in the future, and you can have a say in it. So I think, or knowing that something is going to happen or something's going to change for the better, and you get to have like a preview about it, is really, really what I find fun.
Just to piggyback off what Selena said, I think that she's right, and I think there's power in numbers. I think that Selena's a great example of somebody who joined and then told her friends. Sometimes I wasn't that fortunate when I was in high school. My friends thought going to meetings once a month for 3 hours to talk about stuff that's happening in the community was boring. So I would go to the meetings by myself, but I would definitely have been more encouraged to do it sooner or be more active, join more events if I did it with a friend, if I did it with somebody who I could spend time with, and then they would help me. I was very shy, so they would help me talk around with other people. So definitely, letting other people your age know about these things that they're happening. And if they feel hesitant or scared, saying that you'll join in with them, you'll do it together. Because at the end of the day, none of this can happen with just one person. It has to be as a collective group, as a whole, and we all have to help each other. And that's why I'm happy to be here and talk to everybody. And I'm happy to speak to anybody offline as well if they want to join a board, or they want an introduction to a board or anything like that. I think it's important to build up your network and get to know what you want to do more of through joining a community board. And as a piece of advice to youth, I would say anybody who is young and has the time, I would say, go out there, explore, try everything. You won't know what it is that you will like to do until you try a little bit of everything. When I started at the board, I thought youth was the only thing I'd be interested in because I was young, but I was also interested in environmental issues. I was also interested in ULERP. which is city planning and zoning. It sounds boring, but I promise you, it's kind of exciting once you learn the knacks of it. And I learned I was interested in much more than that. It like I said in the beginning, it was a springboard for me to join in my political career. And when I started working for a member of Congress shortly after being in a community board, during the interview, the Congresswoman asked me what benefit can you bring to our office? And I said, well, I know my community well, and you represent part of my community, and I'm a voice for that community. So it's good when people know that you're a representative in your community, that you know the issues of your community, not just of your people, right? The people who share your ethnic background, but also the people who are around you, your neighbors, right? Just being part of the community board opens it up. It opens up your eyes in a different way. I'd said hi to my neighbors more. What do you need? I can help you. Do you have any city issues? So I think, tackling everything, joining everything, spending your time to do a little bit of everything will go a long way for everyone's future.
That's hard to follow. I could not have said any better. Very, very inspiring words. If I were to say anything, and it's already been said, but I'll reiterate, the only sort of thing that I think young people could do next is to get involved and stay involved. And whether that's a community board, whether it's organizing or advocacy, maybe volunteering on a political campaign, all these things, as we've heard, do not take any expertise, do not require any experience, are beginner friendly, low pressure activities, or at least can be low pressure activities that have a chance to blossom into something really powerful and impactful for your life and for the lives of people around you. So I think it's so easy to sit and read stuff, right? It's easy to scroll, it's easy to post, it's easy to share in the group chat. And that's definitely step one. But if I could encourage anyone to do anything, it would be to take step two and go beyond the group chats, the posting, the scrolling, and sign up for something where you're showing up in real life or showing up on Zoom with your neighbors and your peers to make a difference in some sort of way.
I'll just further reiterate what's been said, because I think the part where talking to each other and young people making sure that we are talking to each other about what's happening in our community is really important, so that we can organize in whatever platform it may be, right? But it really is important for us to find community and be able to talk about the problems, transparently be able to talk about the problems that are going on in our community, and feel empowered enough to find solutions for it as well. And our voice matters.
Janae, stop, don't. Sorry, I was having a background problem. But thank you to all of our speakers for those lovely answers. And now I will open up the floor to anyone that wishes to have any questions or comments. Now is the time. Thank you. Okay, I think that is mostly because our speakers summed up all of our inquiries so awesomely. So thank you again to all of our speakers for those wonderful comments, and answering the questions so thoroughly and patiently is very appreciated. And now I will pass it on to our next question.
Hello. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit more about our community board website. And I'll share my screen to make it easier. Okay. So this is our website. We're focusing mainly on New York City community boards. As you could tell from our rest of the meeting that we did. we're focusing more on New York City community boards because they already have the right to vote. So a little bit talking more about it. What are community boards? They were established in 1976 by Raymond Schulholz in San Francisco, California. And it served as a community-based meditation program where several volunteers from neighborhoods were able to resolve disagreements and repair relationships and prevent rifts in their community. When do they meet? So this all differentiates between community boards. Some meet different times, some others do not. But the majority of community boards meet monthly to conduct business in an hour or 2 hours. And some community boards only meet a few times a year to organize full day meetings. So their format is that they're formatted in a parliamentary structure where each has a community executive community board, which serves as chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. And they they're based on specific needs in the district. So yeah, and these community boards meet frequently depending on their needs or responsibility. And I will go into what those responsibilities entail later. So how do they not change? They have a special basis by urgency and importance, and they have what you call a consent agenda. This tends to be routine and standard. And these include regular revisions of policy to reflect changes in the law, such as changing dates or dollar statements, updating documents, such as changing the address of the main office, standard contracts, or confirming the use of traditional in-house contracts with new vendors. And lastly, not lastly, but as we go into it, confirmation of confidential actions required by bylaws, such as signing for an account or accepting gifts in their community. As we discussed previously, to join, you have to, well, you don't really have to, but you can apply through your board presidential office and complete an interview for application. These applications are due depending on where you live. But you can also become a public member through being a part of a subcommittee, and you do not have to be appointed by a council member or a board president for that specific committee. Applications are due in the Bronx, February 5th, Brooklyn, February 12th, Manhattan, February 1st, Queens, February 19th, and Staten Island has a rolling application. So I'll just click this, how to search up your own community board, which is extremely helpful. You can incorporate your street address and borough. So that's really it. I'll leave the floor for like any questions about the website that you may have. So yeah.
Can I ask a question just about like the boards in general?
Mhm.
Maybe for the people who participated in it. Can anyone share more about like the age breakdown of participants generally? And I know it's like there's probably not specific data on it, but can anyone give us a sense of like in a community board that you've experienced, you know, out of all the members there, like, you know, roughly how many you think were maybe in their, let's say like teens or 20s, you know, maybe like under the age of like 30 or 35, just to give us a general sense of the age breakdown and representation from younger generations versus other generations.
At least in my community board, I'm the first 16-year-old there. So out of like 50. And then below the age of 20, I believe there's like 3. But other than that, most of them are in their 40s to 60s. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, and props to you for being the first of your age.
Does anyone have any more questions regarding the website or anything? Okay, so if not, I guess we can go into the next portion, which is any questions, key reflections, new opportunities to share, and I guess we can go like, if anyone wants to go first, then please volunteer if you have anything to add. Okay, so I'll go first and I'll just pass it on since there's not a lot of people. There's like 16 people here. So overall, I think this was great. Everyone was able to learn more about community boards. So overall, I think this meeting went very well, and I'll pass it on to Jada.
So I'm so happy with the way this turned out. I've learned a lot of new things, especially like with the personal experiences revolving community boards and the wonderful work that our organizations, our guest organizations are doing. So this is just more encouragement for me to see whatever young person I find and encourage them to be more active or just know that there are resources for them.
Shane, you could go.
For sure. I don't know. I didn't know why I raised my hand. Just could have just jumped. All right. Anyways, again, I'm with Staying Power. I'm here because I want to hopefully stay in contact with everyone because this is an issue that is that affects our community as well here in Ipsy. If we can exchange information, email, whatever, stay in contact, just so we can show support for each other, show up for each other, and grow with each other. I will drop emails and ways to get in contact, and hopefully it can be reciprocated. And thank you guys so much for having this time and hosting this time and inviting us all here. This was very impactful and very helpful to us all.
And I might piggyback on Shane for just a moment. First of all, it was just wonderful to see this presentation. I mean, I can't tell you how impressed I am with the Youth Power Coalition group. You all are amazing. This is fabulous. Staying Power is in person and more advocacy oriented, but we also have a second part called Staying Home, and it is virtual. And it will allow you, if you ever want some playtime or to write up some stuff about how you're feeling about all this, etc. That's what Staying Home is about. And we meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. So we'll drop that contact info in the chat too. You can come in, do art. We sort of focus on poetry, but it can be poetry, it can be prose, it can be writing, it's just a communal fun time. And we're really happy to have people from other locations. So we want to offer that as well. And I am not a facilitator for that. It's a much cooler facilitator than me. I just do some behind the scenes stuff. So anyway, because it's all youth led.
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to take up space. I just have to piggyback off of the piggyback. As the representative of Staying Power, Jen, never throw shade on yourself. Jen is a very important part of our Staying Power family. But I would like to emphasize that we do our activism through our arts. And Staying Home is an incredible part that anybody can get involved in. Like Jen said, it's online, and we are a poetry led. We do a lot of emphasis on poetry, but I myself am an actor. I like to write scripts. I like to write music. And that's also type of stuff we do in person as well. So all artists and people are welcome. And like I said, I'm about to drop my email, and it's a fantastic time. And we're always encouraging more youth artists to get involved and show out in the way they love how to.
I can go next. The takeaways, I definitely learned a lot about so many other organizations, campaigns, and like other work that has been going on around lowering the voting age, and it's been really exciting to learn about it. As for new opportunities to share, right now the Peer Defense Project is also working on a social media campaign. So part of our other project, our real integration, part of our project was a lawsuit where we sued the city and the state for having a racist education, because as y'all know, New York City is like the most diverse, or one of the most diverse cities in the world, but our schools are also the most segregated, and our education is a racist one. So we're doing a social media campaign to inform young people, and also like other people about just like what we're doing in within that lawsuit. And for us, like, it's been really intentional. We've been trying to be really intentional about the way that like we share information and stuff like that. So if y'all want to check out the post, it's also in like different languages and stuff like that. Let us know. Give us a follow. And that's all I have to share. Thanks.
One thing really quick that I would share is like a takeaway or kind of like note of inspiration is just to see like YPC pull this event together and to like put this focus on community boards specifically. I'll just share, I have been working with Generation Citizens in some way since 2015. And 1 year before that, 2014, is when the change was made to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to join community boards. I think before then the age was 18. And I remember back then, it was like a big deal. People were celebrating. They thought it was like a victory. It was going to create some change, right? Bring young people more into power and decision making. And a lot of times when changes like that are made, then people just like assume that it will have an effect and move on to the next thing. And obviously, you know, like we heard, you know, in some cases, there's only a few people in that age range who might be on a board. And it's important for everyone to continue to kind of make sure that the potential of that reform is actually realized. And so I was just inspired to see you all put the spotlight on that issue, you know, not just think that the victory is finished once a policy change is made, but to actually make sure that it has the impact that it has the potential to over the long term. So that was just inspiring to be able to focus on and continue to focus on in the future. So I'm appreciative.
Is there anyone who haven't gone who would like to share? Oh, Marcia, you can go.
Okay. So I just wanted to join the echo of thank you for this event. I found it much more than just informative. It was really stimulating, energizing, and really inviting for me. I am a social worker, so the desire to make a difference was what got me into this profession and all. But listening to your stories, so inspiring stories and the efforts that you are engaged in, I felt a renewed commitment to, as Brando was saying, show up in real life events to make a difference. And so I think it takes all of us to engage in change and to continue moving in this direction. So I just wanted to say, I'm in whatever way whatever that means, but I am committed with you to move this ahead. Yeah.
Anyone else? Don't feel shy, but if not, I'll just leave that open for a little bit more.
I really appreciated that ending that piece Brandon said around, like, it's not just the policies change, it's showing up and it's really taking advantage of opportunities that are there. And I think, wow, really taking advantage of the fact that young people, 16 and 17-year-olds, can join community boards and be voting members. If we can do that there, then why can't 16, 17-year-olds vote everywhere? Like, it's pretty obvious that Selena and Christian and all the other folks who are on community boards as teens, like, it's awesome and it's so important. So yeah, why can't this happen everywhere?
I can go next. I want to thank the Advocacy Circle as well as all of the guest speakers that came to talk more about community boards and the work that they do in their organizations. I think it was super helpful to kind of learn about what it is, and the fact that youth can get involved. I think not a lot of youth know that. So the fact that you all are here spreading awareness about that and talking about like why it's important is super great. So thank you.
If everyone had the opportunity to speak, I'll pass it on to Samiha on how to get involved in YPC.
All right, now for our self promo. I'm not sure if you all remember, but at the beginning of the event, we had a slide of the 7 C's of Youth Power Coalition. But what we are is a youth-led collective impact where we sort of recognize all kinds of, say, social, political, economic, just, any issues within our society that we as youth think need alterations or improvements, and etc. Here at YPC, we use our different, identities and backgrounds to advocate for a city that benefits all of us, no matter our differences. So to sort of get an idea of what we at YPC have been currently doing, we've been advocating for youth voting rights. We conduct interviews, we write policies to increase youth decision-making power, we hold youth power meetings, and we organize events like these, lots of outreaching and connecting with other organizations and groups. And if this is something that interests you in any way, I encourage you to please take a look at the YPC website, which is linked, or just check out our social media, which is all in the highlighted section on the right, which I apologize for. It is a pretty small font, so sorry for that. But I will link the YPC website in the Zoom chat for anyone that's interested. And I just want to say thank you all for, just like taking the time to be here and really hearing us out. All right, we